Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us.
Today we're going to be talking about something
Really?
pretty wild.
Yeah.
Artificial general intelligence, or AGI,
Yeah.
and how it could completely, totally revolutionize how we think about power and give us some pretty amazing opportunities.
Now I know when you hear AGI, you might think, okay, robots taking over, dystopian future, all that jazz.
Right.
But we're not going there today.
Yeah.
We're actually going to look at the flip side, the empowering potential of AGI. And for this, we're diving into this super interesting article called How to Decentralize Power in the AGI Era.
It's a really fascinating article, and I'm excited to unpack it with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the kind of anxieties around super intelligent machines,
Right, sure.
But this article really makes you think about the possibilities. If we can figure out how to use this technology in a way that actually benefits humanity.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of benefits, the article talks about AGI having this potential to free us from like the 9 to 5 grind. Like imagine a world where we could pursue our passions instead of just chasing a paycheck.
Right.
Like finally hitting that fast forward button on all the things we wish we had time for.
Absolutely. But that also brings up a big question. If we're not spending our days doing traditional jobs,
Right.
who's calling the shots in this AGI-powered world?
That's the million-dollar question, right? So how does this article suggest we tackle that?
Well, it points to decentralization as a potential solution.
Okay, decentralization.
Yeah.
So I think I get the gist of it, but for our listeners who might not be familiar with the term,
Sure.
can you break that down a little?
Basically, it's about shifting power away from those massive centralized institutions we're used to.
Like giant corporations and big tech.
Exactly, those guys.
Governments too, right?
Absolutely. So instead of all the power being concentrated in the hands of a few, it gets distributed more evenly, amongst individuals' communities.
So it's kind of like leveling the playing field.
Precisely. It's about giving everyone a seat at the table.
I like the sound of that, but how do we actually make that happen? The article mentions collective ownership, but I'm not sure what that looks like in real life.
Yeah, it can sound a bit abstract, but let me give you a concrete example.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
Imagine a locally owned wind farm
Okay,
where the profits are shared among the community members who invested in it.
okay.
That's community ownership in action.
Interesting.
Or think about a tech startup where it's not just the CEO making all the decisions.
Right.
The employees, the customers, even the local community have a say, and they share in the company's success.
So it's like a collaborative approach to business.
Exactly. That's the idea behind a stakeholder economy.
So it's about who benefits from the technology, not just who owns it.
Exactly. And there are other exciting models out there, too.
Like what?
Well, the article talks about this concept on citizen equity. Imagine having a direct ownership stake in a public project.
Okay, like a new park or...
Yeah, or a community center, just because you're a resident of that area.
That's a cool concept. Having a real stake in your community.
Right, and you get a voice in how it's developed, and you benefit from its success. That's citizen equity in a nutshell.
This reminds me of those platform co-ops that are gaining popularity, like ride-sharing or delivery services that are owned and operated by the workers
Yeah,
themselves.
exactly. That's cooperative ownership in action. It's a model that's been around for ages, and it's proving that these decentralized approaches can really work.
It all sounds incredibly promising. But the article does bring up some potential challenges too, like the idea of universal basic income or UBI.
Yeah.
Is that truly empowering, or could it create a system of dependency?
That's a valid concern, and the article acknowledges that. Simply handing out money without addressing the need for purpose and opportunity might not be the answer.
Right, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Exactly. We need to foster an environment where everyone can contribute their talents and skills, even if traditional jobs look different in the future.
And speaking of different futures, this article dives into this really intriguing concept, quantum-resistant cryptography.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie,
Right.
but it's actually a crucial part of making sure decentralization leads to a more equitable future.
Okay, so in English, why does this matter?
Well, imagine AGI systems that are vulnerable to being hacked by these incredibly powerful quantum computers.
Okay.
Whoever controls those computers could seize a dangerous amount of power.
So we need to make sure that the systems we're building for this decentralized future are secure and resilient, even against these future threats.
Exactly. We're playing the long game here.
So it seems like the big takeaway here is that we're not just along for the ride with this whole AGI thing. We actually have agency. We have choices to make.
That's the beauty of it. It's not a predetermined future. It's something we actively create. So here's a question for you
Okay.
and for everyone listening. If AGI allows us to truly pursue our passions,
What will you contribute to the world? What kind of future do you want to be a part of?
wow, those are some big questions to consider.
It is something to think about.
It really makes you realize that the future isn't something that just happens to us, it's something we create.
Hmm.
And if AGI can give us the freedom to pursue our passions, well, that's a future worth shaping.
We hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, maybe sparked some ideas or even a little optimism about the future of AGI.
If something resonated with you, or if you have questions of your own, we'd love to hear from you. Keep those brain cells buzzing.
And we'll catch you on our next deep dive.